Hey guys, it's Justine and I'm here at Google I/O and I had so much fun watching the presentation, and now I'm going to head over and chat with Sundar, the CEO of Google. He just left the stage, so let's go have a chat. Thank you so much for sitting down, and I'm just so excited. This is actually my first I/O.
Oh, well, welcome. And you timed it well. We are back in person in Shoreline. Did you enjoy it?
I did. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, of course. I loved, it took me a while to get used to having audience back and the reactions back. And so I had to go through an adjustment, I think. But I loved being here.
Like in the auditorium too, it was just like feeling that energy. I feel like everyone missed that.
And I hope it continues. I think it's time for people to come back and get on with our lives.
I felt like watching the presentation, it really felt like Google was trying to be additive to technology and not something that's like distracting in your life. So how do you feel that kind of carries through towards Google's mission?
No, it is. If you go back to search was always about trying to get you the answer as quickly as possible, and not the focus was that. And so in some ways, I think a lot of what you saw today is people are living their lives, doing what they are trying to do. We want to find those moments where if they need help, be helpful as quickly and efficiently as possible. So yeah, that affects how we think about it.
And it's incredible with your whole career at Google too, and you've been there for so long. So what's it been like to really see the entire tech industry just change, like right before your eyes, and even having like a huge part in that?
Well, it is, who would have thought the internet would reach where it is today? And, I couldn't have quite foreseen it, but, early on I realized that finally you have a medium which is going to, pretty much touch everyone in the world eventually. And so it's been thrilling to be part of that ride, and being at Google gives you a chance to do that at scale and impact a lot of people. So, but I think, look, the great thing about technology is for people who are young and coming into it, the next decade, the next 2 decades are going to have as much evolution and as many new things as what I've seen in my last 2 decades. So I think that's the great thing about technology.
Is there any key moment that you're like, that was the most meaningful thing that you felt that had like huge impact?
Towards the end, when it all comes together, when we are investing in AI and trying to help people as we are testing the prototype and giving it to people who could be, either deaf or hard of hearing or didn't understand a language, that's where you see how it can all come together and touch people's lives. And so I think that's the potential of technology, the kind of thing which makes me get up in the morning and come into work. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, and I feel like now, even just with the internet and being able to touch that many lives is so incredible. And I think accessibility is so important. How do you guys kind of go through that whole process of deciding what is something that you need to include for accessibility and kind of just carry that through?
We've deeply cared about it in our mission. And so, if anything, we're constantly across every product, be it getting to everyone in the world, trying to make it as affordable as possible, and making sure we are thinking through deeply for people with disabilities, and working to make sure the products work for them. All of there's a lot of work still left to do. One thing I would say is AI offers new opportunities to do it in a way we couldn't have solved it before. And so that's why when you look at things like translation or transcription or all that, I think offers us to support these groups better than ever before.
You guys have talked so much about AI, and it's weird and kind of also interesting when I talk to my non-tech friends, their kind of perception of AI. Like, you think of what you see in these big high budget movies, like robots running around everywhere, and like that's not the actual reality of it. So do you want to talk a little bit about like what AI actually is and how you guys kind of implement it in all of your devices?
Look, in many ways, the kind of AI we are talking about is, as humans, like you and I are using language fluently, we are looking at each other, we have context. All this is very, very hard for computers to do. So we are trying to make progress and make computers be a bit smarter, and using AI to make those things better. But it offers promise in a different way, because the same AI can be an expert on many topics. So it could be like you're talking to 1,000 different experts on any topic, right? That's the potential. So you can imagine a kid in the future being able to learn on any topic, regardless of where they're growing up, what access they have. So that's the potential we see. But when we speak about AI, a lot of it is about how do we use that to bring more knowledge to more people. And so that's how we think about it.
I love that too, because I learned almost everything that I know now from Google and watching YouTube videos. And I feel like a lot of kids learn in different ways, and a lot of times classrooms aren't equipped for that. So the fact that you guys are building that out and also making it accessible is just, I think it really is life-changing.
Yeah, I wish I had YouTube when I was growing up. I've learned on so many topics by particularly even through the pandemic. Just YouTube was a place I would go learn from creators like you. And so, hopefully this is all part of that journey in making it easier for people. By the way, AI also, one feature we launched today was to automatically create chapters in YouTube videos, yeah.
The crowd goes wild. I'm going to put in a sound effect here. That's amazing too, because you're trying to find that information quickly, and the fact that those chapters are automatic, I cannot wait to try it.
Yeah.
We're still talking about AI, and because Google is such a huge company, you guys can literally do anything. So I feel like you guys have a responsibility to kind of set those principles, and I know you talked a little bit about that. Do you want to expand a little more on that?
Obviously it's profound technology, and both will have useful things, can be misused, can have harmful effects. So from a ground up, we have to think about it, right? And so we have publicly stated AI principles, and it has 7 core areas. You see some of that work today when we talked about monk scale, or what we did in our cameras last year. Across a range of skin tones, being able to capture that well on camera is an example of the kind of responsible AI work we are doing. So we are thinking it through across everything we do.
I love the demonstration that you guys did with Lambda 2. And that kind of conversational technology is really just, it's so impressive. And the fact that you could make those lists, like which one was your favorite?
Oh, yeah, I played around with it so much. What's stunning for me is how it breaks down every topic, and then it makes you think about things which you wouldn't have thought of. And I think I vaguely tried planning a party and seeing all the stuff, and even for something you think it surprises you. There's a creativity to all this, and you can imagine you're anywhere, like a planet made of ice cream, and you can think through that. So you can imagine being an author and you're writing something, and you can play with it to get inspiration. And so that is the power of what, if we can get all this to work well, that's the power ahead.
Another thing is I love your kind of initial story of kind of working with Chrome, and that was really impactful for me because I feel like a lot of my career has been people telling me I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't do that. And when you have sort of that conviction that something is something and it can be something, like that's really was touching for me. So like, do you have any advice for any young entrepreneurs or creators or developers who are kind of getting started and how to kind of combat hurdles?
No, it's good. Look, I think it's important to remember you're going to have setbacks. It doesn't go exactly the way sometimes it does, but that's rare. For most people, kind of meanders, and it takes longer than you think it is. I think working with people who you think are very good, I think that's important. Working something which kind of clicks inside you, you feel it. If you work on something you like, you will feel it inside, and I think that's important to try and find it if you can. And so if you do that and you're doing your best, that's what's in your control. And as I said earlier to young entrepreneurs, there's no better time to be a young entrepreneur. Like I would ignore what's happening in the short term. Like there is so much opportunity ahead over the next 10 years or 20 years. I think to creators, there's no better time to be a creator. And so, that's how I would think about it.
Yeah, and I guess one last question, the future of tech. I mean, it's all moving so quickly. So what is your kind of big picture vision for the next 5 to 10 years?
From our standpoint, we are working on, given our goal is to help give access to knowledge. We think computing is going to evolve dramatically over the next 10 years. We will evolve beyond phones. And you saw some hints at the end of what we think that world will be. And so building that out and putting it in people's hands, and it's something we are super excited by.
That's so awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting, and thank you to my audience for watching. I know they're going to be so excited.
Subscribe and click on the bell.
Yes.
Like and comment on the video.
Oh, all right. This is the best day ever. Can we get a selfie?
Of course.
Oh my gosh. This is incredible. All right, here we go.
All right.
Awesome. Got
all right,
options. Thank you so much. So nice to meet you.
Trying to keep up pace with your selfie skills.
So this was both of our first Google I/Os,
yes,
which was so much fun. And you are a veteran.
Yes, 17, 18, 19.
Oh, wow.
Years, yeah.
And he did not tell us that it was cold.
It was very cold. I'm sorry,
freezing.
guys. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see your interview.
I can't wait to see yours.
I can't wait to see yours. Yeah, because we couldn't hear anyone.
Yeah. So guys, make sure you go check out both of their videos. I'll put links in the description. And I think that's a wrap on Google I/O. I gotta go to the airport now.
Me
So
too.
do you. You're leaving tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm good. No.
Bye.
I'm so excited to be here with you. When I first started my YouTube channel, before that I saw the movie The Internship in like 2013, and my dream job was to work at Google. So this feels like a really full circle moment. Thank you so much.
Well, you're close to where the Google headquarters is.
Yes,
so,
this
yeah.
is crazy. Yeah, we did a tour yesterday, and we saw like all these incredible venues and like the mini kitchens, this collaborative culture, which I think was a really big thing pre-COVID. How have you guys kind of looked at being like the pioneer of like this hybrid work model? Because I think before COVID, you guys were like the pioneer, like you're it, and now you're getting back a little bit. But what do you think the future is going to look like with work?
No, it's such a good question. You know, there are people who, like, I got an email from someone yesterday saying they went for a run around the same loop they always run, and it felt so good to be back. And you know, I think people do need those connections, but what we are embracing is flexibility. I think people have gotten used to a more flexible life, and I think in it is, you know, as Google, one of the things we've trusted our employees. We've given them a lot of agency. And so we want to give them the flexibility so that you're not too stressed if you have a doctor appointment or you have to show up at your kid's parents' conference or whatever it is. But we expect people to come, you know, 3 days a week, but you know, we'll be flexible overall. And I think it's exciting, so we can rethink our workspaces a bit. Make sure when people are coming together, it is more meaningful. You're actually coming to spend time and connect with people too. So that's the opportunity.
Are you in the office now, like full time?
Well, not full time. I'm taking
okay.
advantage of the flexible thing which I announced. So, you know, but I'm coming in about 3 days a week. Yeah.
Okay, nice. And so what do you think, like, what activities are good in person that you maybe can't replicate online?
Oh, I mean, just going to the cafe,
Yeah.
grabbing food and sitting outside, and then suddenly somebody from some other team comes and joins, and you know, then talking to people about what they are working or even their life. I think that serendipitous, meandering stuff which you end up discovering. I think it's so much tougher to do that over video, for sure. And also, if you're rolling up your sleeves and brainstorming and working, you know, I think for sure.
I think there's like a huge intangible happiness increase by just being with people, which we kind of experienced today at I/O, the first one back. What was that like for you, like with a live audience, being back in person?
Yeah, I mean, I got a bit surprised on stage the first time people applauded because I lost that sense for about 2 to 3 years. And so, you know, it took me a while to kind of work my way through. I felt like I'm readjusting back to the real world.
Yeah.
It's nice, the energy you feel. And, you know, I think many people feel that too. And you can see people are enjoying being back. So hopefully we all can build on it and keep moving forward.
Yeah, and so you guys announced, you give an early look at the Pixel 7, and then we have the 6A, the Pixel Watch. I feel like we're really moving towards like this bigger ecosystem build. How do you look at Google's building the ecosystem? I feel like you're in a really unique spot with being like an Android, like giving Android to a lot of other OEMs, and they're all building their own ecosystems. How do you think Google differentiates like the Pixel ecosystem from like just Android as a whole?
You know, the power of Android is people can take it in many different directions, right? And so it makes it flexible. What I'm excited about Google doing hardware is we get to express our view, end-to-end view on how we want that experience to work. And you know, if you think about our vision of, we want to make sure devices kind of are seamlessly working together, there to help you, not get in the way, so that you're not dealing with things, trying to fix things. To do that well, you need to have an end-to-end view, and that's what we are doing. So for me, this has been a long journey, but to see a whole portfolio of products, being able to put it together and make sure they're all working together, a phone, a watch, a tablet, and underneath all that is AI and working across. And the fact we are investing all the way down to our own silicon, which now will work across all our products.
Wow.
I think you know, it's just a big opportunity.
Yeah, so speaking of AI, I think that's one of the things that you've really like brought to the forefront when you became CEO. And one of the things I really admire about you is how you've done it in like a really ethical way, and you kind of think about what the adverse effects could be of introducing AI. There was so much AI today, from like the Google Translate to the glasses, that I think are going to like change people's lives if they come to fruition with the Live Translate. What AI projects do you feel like aren't covered enough but are like really exciting that you're stoked to be working on?
At the core, you know, the essence of what you're seeing is making sure computers can like understand the world around the way humans do, be able to see things, hear things, and get context. That's hard for computers to do. So that's what a lot of the AI work we are doing is. We spoke a little bit about language models today, and they are getting more capable. We have a lot of important areas to work through, but the potential of that is what we try to show, right? The fact that you in your hands can have access to something
So cool.
which is knowledgeable on any topic, or can imagine with you, learn new things. I think that there is so much potential on that. So that's something I think is not often talked about, but it's an exciting part of what we are working on.
Yeah, I went to a press briefing with you guys a few weeks ago, and it was talking a lot about like the flood detection and how many lives and like people that is really saved. And I think when people think of Google, they think like search and Android and Docs and like all these things that really affect our lives. But there's so many other things that you guys are working on. Even Street View just had their 15-year anniversary. That project has completely changed the world. Is there something with Maps and Street View that you're still expanding with? Because today in the briefing you talked a little bit about Africa.
Yeah, well, two things. First of all, we're bringing immersive view in Maps. So I think the real power of like thinking about a place, seeing it as you would see it in real life, including checking the inside of a hotel or a restaurant out anytime you want, I think is going to be very powerful. And again, that in the context of a different form factor in the future is the real potential of what we are building.
What do you mean?
Like in AR glasses, having
Okay.
that access to an immersive view, so that if you're looking at a place, you're looking at a restaurant, if you want to, you can say what the inside of it looks like, or what the menu is, and I think shows the power of all this. But you brought up an important point, which is access. We want to make sure this all works everywhere in the world, which is why we're mapping buildings in Africa, using AI to map it better,
Yeah.
creating a data set, opening up that data set, including
Yeah.
to organizations like World Bank and United Nations, so that they can do important work with it. So all that is part of the work we are doing.
How do you approach like what AI you like really work on and what doesn't maybe come to fruition? Because I'm sure people pitch you like a lot of different projects. Like Magic Eraser, I think, is one that like makes complete sense and it's worked really well. And then yesterday on our tour, there was Google Lens, where we saw a robot in one of the spots and we're like, what is this? And it immediately came up. How do you kind of figure out what projects are the most meaningful with the AI?
I mean, the test I use is this, if by creating a feature with this, is it going to be helpful? I think about it 4 dimensions. Is it going to help people improve their knowledge, success, health, or happiness?
Okay.
If it fits one of those 4 attributes, I think it's good to do. So that's kind of how I think about it.
Okay.
And if I feel it's not doing any of that, I would question as to why we are adding that.
Yeah.
But that's the bar with which we think about everything we do.
And I think globally too, you've talked in the past about like your moonshot goal of being carbon free by 2030. How do you approach like climate change and all the other things as like a giant corporation? And I watched an interview that you did with Stanford, and you were talking about how a lot of the times like you'll approach a project if you think that Google could be the right fit and kind of advance it. How do you look at like being carbon free?
Oh, it's the most important thing. I think we could be working on. I think your generation is going to hold all of us accountable.
I hope so, yeah.
If we don't make progress there, and as a company, we bet on wind and solar early, and over 10 years, it's become more mainstream. To really run 24/7 carbon-free everywhere in the world,
Yeah.
we have to solve this everywhere. Look at new sources of energy. We now have a data center with geothermal. We are looking at technologies like carbon capture. And so remember, we cannot do it with offsets. This is to say 24/7, every search you do, every YouTube video, every Gmail,
Yeah.
works carbon free. And so that's a big goal.
Yeah.
But as a technologist, I'm excited because that allows us to invest, develop new technologies, which can then make its way into the world. Yeah. And sustainability is something in which, I think we want to make sure we're bringing all our resources as a company to make a difference.
Yeah. You're like just so incredibly impressive, and today's Google I/O was amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Well,
So great to
thanks
meet you.
for taking the time.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
inspired
you.
by your story.
Thank you
Keep
so
doing
much.
what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jacqueline.
Yeah, you're so great. That was amazing.
Thank you.
So much.